Hey there, Bruce. Welcome back to the Game of Fortune. Apologies for not having an episode up for the past week, but unfortunately I've been away sick. However, I am back now and ready to continue where we left off in the middle of Dragon Horde Snatches. So, let's just get into it, shall we? Belle held out her hand and flew in 4 blue straws. You look real nervous, Clyde. Well, yeah, I mean, this kind of determines the game, you know? It does. Yep, if you know how many pods are before a dragon egg, you can pretty much set yourself up for safety. You need to be in the right position for it, and so the order you go in is pretty important. But that's not the end, all be all. You can still try and debate and convince others to steal a certain amount so that you can assure your own safety as well. In that sense, us being together is kind of an advantage. Oh, I didn't think about that. Glad that you were thinking it over, Clyde. Clyde smiled with pride as he went to draw his straw from Belle's hand, as did the rest of us. I got number 1. Mine is a 2. I got 3. Well, obviously I got 4. Well, those will be your numbers then. The order that you play, the first round of the game in. Everett will go first, then Lilith, followed by Clyde, and finally Devon. Good luck and good fortune to you all in this fiery game of passion. Belle took a step to the side and clapped her hands. The machine seemed to creak and roar to life, and we could see the pods in the machine more clearly. Looks like I'm up then. We each looked up at the machine and watched as it filled with colourful pods. Lilith and Clyde were both focusing on the pods. I figured it'd probably be a good idea to see what they were focusing on. I can see 10 pods in the pipe at the moment, but the last one looked obviously like some kind of dragon egg. So that meant that there were 9 pods before the dragon egg would be automatically stolen, right? Damn it! Clyde cursed quietly under his breath as he looked down at the ground. That's not good. Huh? You figured it out that fast? I played too much Honeycomb Havoc. I think I know how this is going to go. Everett's going to take 2 pods. He should if he's not an idiot. Is that a bad thing? Well, on its own it's not, but we're going to need his help if we want to survive through this. Or at least, he mumbled under his breath as he watched Everett move over toward the lever. Alright, let's go for 2 pods then, shall we? Everett pulled on the lever and the pods in the gachapon moved. 2 large pods popped out, which Everett picked up in each of his hands. Upon contact, they shrunk into small pods that could fit in his pocket. Huh, interesting. Feeling like a real trainer now. Different game, Everett. Now let's get off so Lilith can go. Yes, yes. Everett moved out of the way of the machine and Lilith quickly took his place. Hey, Everett. Yes, Clyde? Can I ask you a favour? What favour exactly? Well, it's just that the way things are going, I'm probably going to end up dead. Huh? What? Dead? There's only been 2 pods taken so far. I know that, but I can do the math in my head and I see that it's not looking good for either of us. Is it really that bad? You're quick to catch on. I suspect that Lilith will choose to take 1 pod. Then you and Devon will take 2 pods each, right? Leaving me with the choice of taking either 1 pod or 2 pods. Clyde nodded, but I was still a bit lost. I shall consider your proposal, but that's all I shall do. That's all I can ask. Everett nodded and then turned back to watch Lilith as she moved over toward the lever. She pulled on the lever once and a single pod popped out. Like Everett, she walked over and picked it up off the ground before moving back in line. Devon, when your turn comes up, you'll need to pick 2, alright? Huh? Sure, got it. Clyde gave me a thumbs up and then walked up toward the gachapon. Right now there were 6 pods left in the gachapon machine before the dragon egg. If Clyde took 1 and I took 2, then Everett would have 3 pods left before the dragon egg. If Clyde took 2 and then I took 2, then Everett would have 2 pods left before the dragon egg. If Everett has 3 pods before the dragon egg, then it doesn't matter what he picks. If he chooses to take 1 pod, then Lilith will take 2. If he takes 2 pods, then Lilith will take 1. And then Clyde will... But if Everett only has 2 pods, then he can choose to take 1 and that would lead to Clyde's death. Or he could take 2 and that would end up with Lilith dying. Aha! So that's why he needs Everett's help. Everett, Can you please help us? You're asking me now? I already told Clyde I'd consider it. Don't listen to them, Everett. You do realize they're a pair, right? They're going to try and survive together. And if you give them a chance, they're going to take it. You do that, and they're only going to kill you and me. She makes a fair point, Devon. It's not exactly fair to expect me to sacrifice myself for you and Clyde. I could do nothing but groan in frustration. All I could do was hope that Everett would help us out. I turned back to look at Clyde, who had grabbed 2 pods from the gachapon and had signalled it was my turn to go up. I nodded and walked up to the machine. There were 4 pods left before the dragon egg pod, and all the pods after that looked to be normal pods as well. I pulled on the lever twice and watched as I received 2 pods. I picked them up and tucked them in my pocket. So far everything was going according to plan, but did that really matter? If Everett chose to only take 1 pod, then this would all be for naught. Well, Everett, you're up. That I am. Well, nothing to it but to go forward, right? Well, this is it then. One of us is going to die next. Well, it should be you. How can you say that? Because if Everett knows what's good for him, then he'll try to kill both of you. Or at least one of you. As it stands now, we're up against a determined pair who wants to live, but us, we only have ourselves. Or maybe one another if we want to make a temporary partnership. Look at it from our perspective. I look back over toward the gachapon and watch as Everett reached toward the lever. I didn't have much time to consider my options, but nevertheless I've made a decision. Clyde? I'm sorry, but I'm afraid this is the end of the line for you. Everett pulled on the lever once and watched as the gachapon popped out a pod once more. Truly, I'm saddened that this is what it came to, but I wish to win, much like most of us here. I hope you'll have the heart to forgive me. Everett, you goddamn... No, it's alright. This isn't personal, okay? I'm just doing what I have to survive. It was the luck of the draw. But Lilith, you could... I'm not throwing my life away for you two. Get that out of your head. Just enjoy what few moments you have left together. I wanted to grab her, somehow hold her back from going up to that lever. But Clyde grabbed a hold of me, partly to restrain me, partly to comfort me. I'm sorry. Damn it! Lilith walked up and grabbed the lever, and a single pod popped out of the machine. She let out a heavy sigh and then walked away from the machine. And now it was Clyde's turn. Clyde shuddered as he started walking up toward the gachapon machine. No, don't go, Clyde. It's fine. We'll be fine, Devon. I don't care. I don't want to see you get burned alive. Then, turn away? I went to punch him in the face, but he quickly leapt out of the way before it could connect. Hey, don't get yourself killed. If you hit me, we're both going to end up dead. You know that, right? You idiot. You think I'm just going to turn away? What the heck do you want me to do? I can't do anything. You think I want to die burning alive? I don't want you to see either. Even if we'll end up fine after all this. I don't want you to see whatever the hell ends up happening. But damn it, there's nothing I can do but try to face my death with some sense of dignity, alright? So if you can just stand there and watch. If you can't stand there and watch, just turn away. It'll be over soon. Clyde. I watched as he walked over toward the gachapon and stared at the mechanical dragon at the top. He gave me one last look as his hand shakily grabbed a hold of the lever. Stay strong, Devon, alright? I will. With a shaky resolve, he slowly pulled the lever and the dragon egg pod plopped out to the ground. Clyde, you shouldn't worry that much. Devon will be fine. You know enough already, don't you? Why don't you wish her off one last time? Come on, Clyde, say her name one more time. All this can end right now if you say your dear friend's name one more time. What? Clyde suddenly clutched at his head and fell to one knee. Clyde? Clyde, what's wrong? What's happening? Before I could get answers, the dragon atop the gachapon roared with life, and I could see flames licking the edges of the dragon's mouth. You bastard. Finally come to your senses then. Well, it's much too late for you to do anything about it. Don't worry, I promise to take good care of your friend. I already have for 2 games now. Like hell that's the case. Devon, whatever you do, don't... His words were interrupted as a stream of fire crashed down on him like a waterfall. Sorry, my voice is still not quite right yet. I could no longer even see him, as the dragon continued to cloak him in flames, choking out any last words he was trying to share. The fire just kept roaring and roaring and roaring. Even the silhouette started to disappear from the bright light and torrent of fire. He just burned and burned and burned, until there was nothing left but ashes. Ashes. My best friend scorched into a pile of ashes. Clyde? Even if he would come back, even if I would see him again, how would I forget this? How could I just imagine this was some traumatic horror I hadn't seen? How was I supposed to just move on like nothing happened? How do I go on? Focus, you have to find something to ground yourself. Something, anything to get your mind out of this despair. He'll be back, you know he'll be back. So stand back up. I wiped my eyes, trying to keep myself from bawling out a mess of tears and snot. Clyde was gone, but it wasn't over. Not yet. Wow, talk about a blazing success. That's what happens when you steal dragon eggs. Never put yourself between a mother and her child. They're willing to do amazing things. Anyhow, Now that we've got one death, it's time to shuffle things around. Everyone come and draw new straws. This will determine your order. Right, maybe this time I'll get lucky. We all approached Bell and drew new straws. I looked up at the gachapon. This time there were 7 pods before the dragon egg. So, if I could go first, then I'd be able to win for sure. And then I'd be able to determine who lived and who died. I closed my eyes and made a silent prayer. Let me go first, please. I looked at the straw I drew and it was a 1. Yes, yes! I pumped my fist in the air, feeling confident. I was going to live through this. But not only that, my attention turned to Everett and Lilith, who were inspecting their own straws. I got 2, and I received 3. That's right, I'm going first. I had the power. I was going to be able to determine who between the 2 of them would live or die. I could get justice. I could get revenge. My intentions must have been clear because both of them stared at me with amiable smiles. Well, I suppose that our lives are in your hands, Devon. I want answers. Answers? Why'd you say what you did to Clyde? It didn't make any sense. Why'd he suddenly look so pissed off at you? Ah, that. Well, and if you try to bullshit me, I'm going to make sure you die, Everett. So don't try anything. I understand, truly I do. I know why he did it. You do? Yeah, I remember everything now. Something said that he'd make me remember a few... Something he said made me remember a few things, or a lot of things, really. So you do remember then. Like you'd be able to forget, Lucas. Hey, you're getting way off track here. Belle pushed her way between the 3 of us and pointed back at the gachapon machine. Devon, you need to get up there and pull that lever. Otherwise you're going to run out of time. Fine, whatever. Honestly, it didn't matter if I let time run out or not. As long as I took 2 pods, I'd be safe. There were 7 pods before the dragon pod right now. If I took 2, then the most that could be taken before my next turn would be 4. I still have 1 pod left before the dragon one popped up. And the minimum amount the others would take would be 2, leaving 3 pods left. By that point, I'd still be safe. I literally can't fuck this up at all. I walked up to the lever and pulled on it twice. I received my 2 pods and then walked back to the others. Lilith was up next and stepped up to the gachapon. Everett took advantage of our brief solitude. Devon, might I make a request of you? Sure, you can make a request. The same way Clyde made a request and you murdered him in cold blood. I think you're being a bit harsh. I was only looking out for my best interest. With you and Clyde alive, there'd only be a 33% chance that I'd die right at the start of the next round. You and Clyde would be able to coordinate your moves and surely lead me to dying. Is it wrong for me to prioritize my own well-being? No, it's not. Just as it's not wrong for me to want revenge for you killing Clyde. I understand you're angry, but please, if you let me live, then I can answer any and all questions you have. You think it's a bargaining chip? You think I care about anything that you can tell me now? I know how this game works, how this place works. Why do I care what you tell me now? Fair enough. How about this then? Since you know you'll survive this, let's say you to a gift. A gift? Money, a new home, a luxurious job, connections, introductions. What does your heart desire? I can give you anything you want and I have the means to do so. And if you help me further than that, I could someday grant you the greatest gift of all. And what would that be? Immortality. What? Don't listen to whatever bullshit this guy spouts out of his mouth. Lilith walked over toward us. She just finished her turn. I looked up at the gachapon machine. There were only 4 pods left in the machine, which meant Lilith took only 1 pod then. The bastard will say just about anything to get you on his side. Ain't that right, Lucas? Don't call me that, you vile woman. Why, it is your name after all. Doesn't matter. Just keep it out of your mouth. Everett cursed as he turned toward the gachapon machine, but gave one last parting glance. Just remember my offer, Devon. It's likely not going to show up again. Look, I get you don't have much reason to trust me, but believe this, Lucas or Everett isn't a man of his word. The guy's a bastard through and through. He's probably just telling you all these things so he can get on your good side. I gathered that much. But why are you acting like this now? I told you, right? Something you said made me remember some stuff. The guy tried to basically kill me and Clyde once. What? Yeah, real dickish move on his part. Before that, he was happy to act all polite until he had his chance to screw with us. Just telling you now as a warning, don't trust that fucker. You're not just telling me this stuff to make me keep you alive, eh? I don't fucking care, do whatever you want. I just hate the idea that this bastard gets what he wants. If you want to screw him over now or later, that's your choice. Though honestly, I'd rather not get roasted by flames, so yeah, if you want to be nice, you could just off him now. Not that it matters how far I go anymore. What does she mean by that? Filling her head with lies and fabricated stories now? Everett had finished his turn and was looking between the two of us now. I don't lie. You should know that already. Did you leave out any convenient details? A lie of omission. I see you're still willing to do those, aren't you? I don't have time for this. I walked up to the gachapon machine and looked up. There were only 2 pods left. I could take one, and Lilith would no doubt take one as well, leading to Everett's death. Or I could take 2, and that would lead to Lilith's death. It was a simple choice, really, and it didn't matter to me which one I picked. I guess I should save. But, I'll take one. I reached for the lever and pulled it once. Then I turned to Lilith and Everett to see their reactions. This is for killing Clyde, you bastard. Maybe you're just trying to survive. You didn't have to give either of us false hope. I see. So that's what you've chosen. Suppose I can't blame you for that line of thinking. Just goes to show that you can't smooth talk your way out of everything, you dick. I don't even need to win. I'll just be happy to see your ass get burnt to a crisp. You're right, Lilith. Where words fail, muscle follows. Well, sorry it's come to this. I would have preferred to see the despair on your face, but this will have to do. What? Hey, back off, you can't... Everett swung his fist and socked Lilith in the side of the head. With a single blow, she crumpled down to the ground. What the fuck are you doing? You can't attack people. I can't? That's against the rules. Belle stated you can't use violence on people. See, that's where you're wrong, Devon. She said we can't use violence against anyone who was in their turn. You still haven't picked up your pod now, have you? But that's complete bullshit. You can't just assault someone when it's not their turn. I turned to Belle, hoping she'd back me up. Right? Well, it's certainly a bad move from a sportsmanship perspective, but since you haven't picked up your pod yet, I would say that the turn hasn't shifted over to Lilith's yet. And you're free to do whatever you want to one another when it's not your turn. You've got to be kidding me. I looked over to see Lilith unresponsive on the ground. She's knocked out. Can't you wake her up or something? Sure, I could, but I'm not going to. If she thought that she was going to be attacked, she should have protected herself. In other words, we're just going to sit here until she wakes up. Otherwise, we can't carry on the game. As much as you all bore it, making deals, threats, or attacking your opponents is a valid strategy. This is why you have to pay close attention to the rules. It's a lot like dealing with taxes. So many loopholes exist if you're willing to look for them. But... Alright then, I'll just wait until Lilith wakes up. You what? Belle said my turn didn't end when I picked up my pod, right? So I just wait here until Lilith comes to again. I can do that, can't I? Well, I guess you can, technically. I didn't put a time limit on your turn. Just on when you had to pull the lever. Huh, your violence won't get you anywhere, Everett. You're still going to get a taste of the dragon's breath at the end of the day. You're really pushing my hand here, you know that, Dev? Your threats won't work on me. You can't hurt me, not while it's my turn. Hurt you? Oh no, I don't have to do a thing to you. If you insist on dragging this out as long as possible, waiting until Lilith comes to, then I'll just deal with her permanently. Or at least as permanently as I can while we're here. What the heck do you mean by that? Everett walked over and picked up Lilith's body from the ground and put his hands around her head. I probably can't do it as cleanly as in the movies, but I'm certain that I could snap her neck given enough chances. You gonna fucking kill her? Well, if you're going to wait until she wakes up, what choice do I have? If I kill her here, well, her time will run out, then the dragon egg will fall and char her corpse. It'll be the fastest cremation process. I say it will be rather efficient. It'll be rather efficient, don't you? You're crazy. I'm pragmatic. Besides, this is justice in the truest form. She took my life years ago, and now I get to do the same. A shame that she's not going to face the same oblivion that I did. So what are you going to do, Devon? Are you going to force my hand, or will you play along and let her die to her own fate? 10, 9, 8. You're counting down? 7, 6, 5, 4. Fine, stop, I'll go. I picked up my pod and walked away from the gachapon machine. There, now it's Lilith's turn. You can't hurt her. Everett dropped Lilith back to the ground and took a step back. You're right, I won't lay a finger on her. At this point, it's all on her. 60 seconds to see if she can pull that lever. Lilith, come on, wake up. She was unresponsive, and all I could focus on was the welt on the side of her face. Come on, Lilith, you need to wake up. Get up. But no matter how much I called out for her, she just wouldn't respond. She wouldn't wake up. Something had to wake her up. Something had to stun her out of her knocked out state. But what? What could shock Lilith back to... I got it. Lilith, think about your sister, Laura. She wouldn't want you to stay down, right? Come on, wake up. She roused from her unconscious state and slowly set herself up. That's unexpected. That's Cicely Bond or someone else. You goddamn fucking... There's no time for insults. Lilith, pull the lever. Huh? She slowly got to her feet and tried to stumble toward the lever. How many times? Just once. Right, I just have to... Lilith grabbed a hold of the lever and began to pull it down. Yes, 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 you got it, Lilith. Time's up. What? Lilith collapsed back to the ground, holding the side of her head. Damn. Ah, such a shame, Lilith. You were so close. This is just how the cookie crumbles. What's the matter? I've already won. Doesn't matter what happens to me now. I'm just pissed off that I'm not going to see you burn. You're right. Ultimately, Lilith, when this is all said and done, we're going to go our separate ways. We'll never see each other again, and we're hopefully never going to be a bother in one another's lives. All the more reason for me to treasure these moments we have together, when I get some satisfaction of watching you squirm like a worm. Are you just mad that I took away your life? Angry that I didn't get caught? That your killer got away scot-free while you rotted in the dirt? Or is it some kind of power thing? Bosses like you always want to be in control over others. That's part of it, but it goes a little deeper than that. I wouldn't expect you to understand, and frankly, I don't care if you do anymore. For now, all you need to do is burn. The gachapon was already moving, with the first pod falling to the ground before the secondary pod. The dragon egg fell to the ground. The dragon was already flexing its wings, and flames were gathering around its mouth once more. I'm not afraid of you, asshole. It doesn't matter how many times we'll go through this. I'm not going to cower in fear to you. Congrats. You'll die braver than most. She glared with defiance at him, even as the dragon's fire consumed her. Somehow she didn't scream, didn't cry out in fear. She just stared in furious silence, the only sound being the sound of the fire crackling. And like Clyde, her body slowly burned away to ash and dust. Ashes and dust. They were both gone, just like that. But there was nothing left I could do but press forward. I mean, we can't win. It's impossible to win. He doesn't even have to play the game. Once it's his turn, he can just snap our neck and win. And then leave. He doesn't have to play the game unless he's doing it for shits and giggles. I look up to see Belle brushing up all the ashes into a dustpan and tossing them in a bag. And there, cleanliness is next to godliness, you know. She tossed the bag of ashes away before clapping her hands. Congrats you two for winning Dragon Horde Snatches. Honestly, I'm glad that this game was finished so quickly and smoothly. I'm used to things dragging on sometimes. But this one went rather smoothly. Oh, we had 2 winners this time, okay. Yeah, well, I guess the rules were just streamlined. Yep. I'm just a great game designer, aren't I? Anyway, I got one more game to run before we get to the finale. So go on and take your well-earned break. Belle waved her hand and a door revealed itself at the end of the room. See you both soon. Toodles. And she disappeared in a puff of blue smoke, just like she normally did. Well, should we go then? Come on, Devon, I'm not going to hurt you. We're at the end now, we can relax. Now we can prepare ourselves. Yeah, whatever you say. I quietly followed behind Everett, keeping my head down. You're awfully quiet. Should I be talking? I mean, what do you want me to say? I suppose there's no point in forcing a conversation. I just assumed you wanted to speak up about what happened. There's a lot I want to ask about. I want to know what Lilith and Clyde remembered that seemed to make them so angry at you. I want to know what your goals are. What you're trying to get out of all this. I want to understand why it seems that time and time again people seem to distrust you and say bad things about you. Maria, maybe because he just fucking punched what's-her-face in the head and killed her? Maria, Kishi, Lilith, Clyde, Alphonse, even Teresa didn't seem to have anything good to say about you. Well, that's a bit harsh, don't you think? Teresa said a few good things about me. Mostly innuendos, but sure. Explain to me why everyone else seems so distrustful. You've explained your side of the story. I can get why Alphonse and Maria might not like you, but why Kishi? Why Lilith? Why Clyde? What did you do to make them so wary of you? What made them hate you? I mean, we've seen everything, haven't we? Everett stood there, eyes closed, thinking of the best way to respond, because that's what he always did. He was going to give a measured response, trying to find the right way to order the words to make himself look good. That's what he was always doing. Well, we're at the end, so I suppose I can give pure honesty. No, that's not quite right. It's more like you deserve it at this rate. Where do I begin? He started walking down the hall, as if expecting me to just follow him if I wanted the details. Why does everyone distrust me? Why does everyone seem to be wary of me? Why does everyone seem to hate me? Well, it might be an exaggeration to start off with, but they all dislike me for various reasons. Let's start with the basics. I am what I am because I have a vested interest in ensuring that the Digits of Eden prospers. Why am I so cutthroat, so driven, so dedicated, to the point of becoming hostile? Because I need the Digits of Eden to survive. I need Nigel to survive, and I've invested too much to see it crumble. When it was still just a fledgling little group of avid researchers trying to understand the mystical ways of the world, I was the one that saw the potential it truly had. I was the one that suggested selling wishes. I was the one that suggested giving aid to people to gain their trust and adoration. I was the one that carefully managed and looked over every aspect of the organisation. Carefully planning, careful management of assets, ensuring that only so much information went out, hiring proper security, pulling in more and more influential people. Year after year I put out fires, I dealt with problematic people, I helped those who needed aid, I invested in those who I knew would be of use. I made the Digits of Eden grow to the powerhouse that it is today. Sure, I didn't have the raw charisma or influence to pull in people like Nigel could, but I made the Digits of Eden what it was today. He's the face, and I'm the body that makes everything run smoothly and operate properly. And I'll be damned if I let everything I built, everything I've invested, everything I've worked for be destroyed today. Especially not by the daughter of that ungrateful drunken bitch and that meddling white knight. Everett smashed his hand to the side of the wall before adjusting his glasses. And then there's Kana, trying to usurp everything that Nigel and I have made, using her granddaughter like a tool to make it happen. The poor girl's been brainwashed into nothing short of a puppet for her. I almost feel sorry for her, if she wasn't getting in my damn way. Her and that hoodlum boyfriend of hers. Our roles should have been reversed. He should have died that day. I should be the one to scrape my way out of that crash. If things had gone differently, then none of this madness would be necessary. Everything would have gone according to plan. There would have been balance. Peace, not this silent war. We'd reached the end of the hall, but Everett was still ranting, getting everything out that he'd been building up in his mind for who knows how long. That's why I can't stand them. That's why I can't trust them or like them. And whatever animosity they have for me, I held for them in tenfold. But all of this could have been avoided. All of this would have never happened if Lilith hadn't set the damn wheels in motion. If she hadn't gotten me killed and Zeph injured, then Grant and Elizabeth wouldn't have been called in. They wouldn't have made their wishes. Then there'd be no need to investigate. There'd be no need to get suspicious. It's all her fault. Everything's her fault. If she hadn't... He was about to punch the wall again, but stopped once he realised that I was shivering. He tucked his hand in his pocket and shook his head. I have too much to lose. If that means I must be called callous and unlikable at some points, then damn it, that's what I have to be. You're not callous and unlikable, you're an absolute psychotic who I fucking can't stand. I can't fail here, I just can't. With those words, he opened the door to the final lounge and walked inside. You know, it's just somewhat liberating to get all that out there. I certainly feel better. I'm glad that you got everything out. Sounds to me like you got some serious issues to work out with like a ton of people. Like, I get wanting to protect something you worked on, but are you sure it's all good at this point? It seems like it's causing you a lot of stress and pain, and maybe not just you. Everett ignored my question for a moment as he looked around the room and began to walk toward one of the walls in the lounge. It's work, but it's fulfilling work. And it's changed me as a person for the better. I'll admit that I wasn't in this for the sake of charity. I didn't care that much about actually helping people as much as helping the Digits of Eden build an image of philanthropy and goodwill. If we were seen as good, a good, well-meaning organisation that helped others, then it'd be easy to get more people involved. More people means more funds, more influence, more means of reaching out to people. But over time I actually started seeing the good work we were doing, how we were changing lives for the better. It was heartwarming in a way, seeing how much a little kindness and a lot of money can go about getting someone out of the gutters and onto a better life. And all those lives I've touched, those lives changed for the better. What happens to them when everything crumples away? Does it scatter away into the wind? Do they just move on? Do they try to build what we've made with limited success? Or worse, do they try to fill the void left behind with something worse, with something more sinister than what already exists? What are you imagining that could be worse than what already exists? Again, silence. All he did was point at a section of the wall. Look at that. I walked over toward him and saw that he was pointing at some kind of picture on the wall. But it wasn't just any picture. This is... Is that all of us? It is. Does it seem familiar? The more I stared at the picture, the more I felt as though Everett was right. I'd seen this frame, this portrait, this whatever the heck it was. And I felt all sorts of emotions. Relief, anger, frustration, surprise, confusion. And my eyes eventually wandered over toward my own portrait with gold clovers wrapped around my face. A warmth began to flood my body, a familiar feeling of accomplishment and pride burning in my chest. Do you understand what it means? I do, I feel it in my heart. Good, then you understand your role from here on out. You can't win anymore, so you should focus your efforts on deciding who can. Though if it should come down to it, you should be willing to accept victory again. You'll understand. Kishi, Alphonse, Elizabeth and Philip were in the second game room, so only 2 of them will survive. Should Kishi, Alphonse or both of them make it out, I'll be counting on you. I gave the portrait one last look before turning away from it. Anyway, to answer your question from before, first allow me to ask you a question. Who would you think owns the rights to this place? Owns the rights to like a whole realm? I guess it'd be Bell, right? This is his zone or whatever, right? From a simplistic point of view, that'd be correct, but let's take a step back. Bell's realm was connected to that field of clovers we came to, wasn't it? Yeah, that's true. It's private land and operated by the members of the Digits of Eden. Thus it would make sense to say the Digits of Eden own the rights to use the land in a legal manner, including traversing to this realm every 4 years, right? I guess that makes sense in a weird sort of way. For now, that works fine. Every 4 years, people get to make various wishes, and only 16 people in total. To some extent, it's easy to stay under the radar about the specifics that happen here. You can't record anything with video. All you have is personal testimony. If you were to go yapping to tell people about the experience, they'd likely call you crazy, right? I mean, yeah, probably. The only evidence this place exists is the effects that the wishes have in the real world. Those undeniable and unexplainable phenomena that seem to break the rules of reality as we know it. The Digits of Eden work hard, very hard, to ensure that even that kind of evidence doesn't raise too many eyebrows. And I'll tell you, it's extremely difficult, but something that we've managed to do. But how's that possible? Aren't you literally selling wishes? And not just to nobodies off the street, you're selling them to the rich and famous, right? True, but again, the details are kept extremely vague. It's like a black box. Let's say I told you that if you stuck your hand inside of it, you come out with $1 million, or that your loved one would be brought back to life. If you're skeptical, you're not going to bother with it at all. But if you stick your hand in it and it gives you what you want with no ill side effects, you might be curious, but you have no way of knowing the truth of the matter. You're just happy to have your wish granted. But don't you need to be in here to have your wish granted? Wouldn't you know of the inner workings of this place? Most of the time we don't let people who buy wishes personally participate. We usually provide a proxy for them, members of the Digits of Eden that we can trust. Though we do make exceptions from time to time, especially if people pay large amounts of money. That's how Jay managed to get in. I'll be the first to admit that it's not a foolproof plan, but it works well enough to keep prying eyes out of it. That's been the hardest part of managing all this, carefully growing the organisation but without arousing too much suspicion. What do you think would happen if the government suspected that some organisation had the ability to bend reality to their will every 4 years? They'd probably crack down on you real fast. Exactly. The idea that every 4 years an organisation could effectively kill, revive or empower anyone of their choosing would throw off global balance of power. In essence, you could make any demands or threats you'd want and properly act upon them every 4 years. I wish that couldn't be stopped. Of course, this is why we ideally don't let people who want to make drastic world-changing wishes in. It would bring too much suspicion on us and everything would be torn down. And if that were to happen, I don't think someone wouldn't step in to fill the void. Either the government or some other powerful organisation would do the exact thing we're doing. In that sense, we're the good guys, keeping this power out of the hands of madmen that would seek to shape the world to their ideals. All we want is maybe some money and personal security, a small evil compared to the atrocities that one could commit with this power. I guess you sort of have a point. There could be a lot worse people using these wishes for whatever the heck they wanted to. But how do you know that you're the good guys in all this? Are you telling me there's no one in history and this organization's made some bad wishes or done something horrible with them? Plus, aren't you, like, duping a bunch of people? You're literally selling wishes through this weird death game. Well, it's not the only way to gain access to a wish. I'm betting a bunch of people in the organization would think that they'll get a chance to get themselves a wish too if they work hard enough or donate enough money to your cause. Work and money that goes to helping people, but yeah, sometimes it's how it works. We can only allow 16 people every 4 years to participate. It's not as though we can just open the floodgates and let people grab whenever they want. Wishes are powerful, Devon. We can't have people just make them willy-nilly without thinking of consequences. If we did, then that would leave more traces and evidence of their existence. So now you're telling people what kind of wishes they're allowed to make. Devon, normally the only wishes that we're allowed to make were innocent ones, like bringing back a loved one from the dead. That's not the only practical sense of not wanting to draw attention with a foul wish, but also a moral one. That's why I was always against it. I never wanted these wishes to be used in a malicious way. Do you really mean that? I do. In all my years, I've never wanted anyone to use a wish to get revenge or lash out at anyone. And then the minute I'm gone, he sighed and shook his head. It all crumbles away, and I have to put the pieces back together. Devon? And with that, we're going to wrap this one up here. Kishi's back. Whatever happens, I'm definitely not, if I have a choice, I'm definitely not going to help fucking Everett get his way. But anyway, because he sucks. Anyway, it's good to be back. Thanks for watching, Bruce, and I'll see you in the next one.